The night sky above Earth was calm and bright, the stars shining like tiny silver eyes watching from a distance. People in the city walked as usual. Cars moved along the streets. Children played in the parks. Nobody knew that something was coming, something that would change the way they looked at the galaxy forever. Far above the planet, a shadow moved. A massive alien warship slid into orbit without sound, its black metal surface reflecting faint light from the sun. It was bigger than any human ship ever built, and it carried with it a challenge meant to humiliate the people of Earth. Deep inside the ship, alien commanders stood around a glowing map of the planet. Their leader spoke with a voice like cold steel. "Today we will show the humans their place. We will release our ultimate predator, the one that crushed armies and silenced entire worlds. They will watch their strongest warriors fall before it, and they will know they are nothing in the eyes of the galaxy." In the city, a faint tremor shook the ground. People stopped and looked around. Some thought it was an earthquake. Others thought it was construction work. Then they saw it, a streak of fire cutting across the sky, growing larger every second. The roar of engines shook windows and rattled the hearts of everyone who heard it. The streak slowed, split apart, and from within a dark object dropped toward the earth. It landed in the center of a wide street with a thunderous crash. Smoke and dust spread everywhere. When the air cleared, the crowd gasped. Before them stood a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. Its skin was dark like midnight stone, covered in thick armored scales that seemed to drink in the light. Its legs were like tree trunks, its arms ending in claws longer than a man's forearm. Two glowing eyes burned with a deep orange light, and when it opened its mouth, the teeth looked like curved knives. A low growl rolled out, making the ground vibrate under their feet. From the orbiting ship, alien eyes watched the scene. They expected the humans to scream and run, to scatter like frightened animals. But something strange happened. Many stepped back, but they did not run. Some raised their phones to record. Others simply stared, frozen in awe and fear. The creature's head turned slowly as if it was studying them. Its breath was heavy, like air passing through a furnace. The alien commander leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Tell it to begin, and them quickly. Let their weakness be seen by all." Deep inside the beast's mind, a signal pulsed, the command to strike, to destroy, to kill. On the ground, the crowd began to whisper. The tension grew like a storm ready to break. Soldiers arrived, their boots hitting the pavement, their weapons aimed at the beast. Among them was Captain Reyes, a tall man with a calm face and sharp eyes. His armor was scratched from old battles. He walked past the soldiers without raising his rifle. Instead, he stopped only a few steps from the beast, his eyes locked on its glowing gaze. The street around them seemed to fall silent, even the wind stopped for a moment. Reyes stood still, his chest rising and falling slowly. The beast leaned down slightly, the ground trembling with each step it took toward him. The alien commander's voice crackled through the beast's mind again. "Strike now. Take him first. Make the others watch." But the beast did not move to attack. Instead, it circled Reyes, its claws dragging across the concrete. Leaving deep marks behind, it kept its head low, its glowing eyes never leaving the human. People watched with wide eyes. Some whispered prayers. Others could barely breathe. They had never seen anything like this. A weapon made of muscle and fury was standing right in front of them. It was not killing. The alien commander frowned. "This has never happened," he muttered. His officers glanced at each other, uncertain. The beast stopped in front of Reyes again, its breath washing over him in slow, hot waves. Then, without warning, it let out a deep, rumbling sound. Not a roar of rage, but something else, something that made the hairs on the back of Reyes's neck stand up. It was a sound of recognition, the sound a predator makes when it finds something it cannot hate. Reyes did not know why, but he felt no fear, only a strange connection. He could see something in those glowing eyes, not just hunger or power, but thought, intelligence, and perhaps something older than both of them. The soldiers behind him tightened their grips on their rifles, waiting for the order to fire. But Reyes raised his hand slightly, telling them to wait. The alien commander slammed his clawed hand onto the console in anger. "This is impossible," he said. "The beast obeys no one but us. Yet here it stands like a trained guardian in front of a human." The crowd around the street was growing. People watching from rooftops and windows, recording the moment. The air was thick with tension. Every breath felt heavy. The beast took one more slow step forward until its massive head was only inches from Reyes's face. The soldiers shifted uneasily, expecting an attack at any second, but instead the beast lowered its head just slightly, the movement so small that some might miss it. Reyes did not miss it. His eyes narrowed, his mind racing. He did not know what this meant, but he knew the aliens above were watching, and whatever was happening here was not part of their plan. In orbit, the alien commander barked new orders, force it to attack. Reminded of the pain if it disobeys, the beast's muscles tensed, but still it did not strike. Instead, it let out another low sound, one that rolled like thunder through the street. People stepped back, not out of fear, but because they could feel the weight of it, the meaning behind it. Somewhere deep inside the beast there was a choice being made. A choice the aliens had not expected, and one that would change everything that was about to come. The beast's massive body loomed over Captain Reyes, its shadow stretching far down the broken street. The crowd around them was holding its breath, some clutching their children, others with their eyes locked on the strange scene before them. The alien ship above watched with sharp eyes, every commander and soldier waiting for the moment the predator would finally strike. The alien leader barked the order again through the control system linked to the creature's mind, telling it to attack, to crush the humans standing before it. Yet the beast only moved in a slow circle, each heavy step making the cracked ground tremble. Its claws scraped against the pavement with a sound like tearing metal, the muscles in its shoulders shifting under its thick, armored skin. But its eyes never left Reyes, glowing like twin suns trapped in a dark sky. Reyes could feel the heat of its breath washing over him with each exhale. The soldiers behind him whispered nervously, their fingers twitching on their triggers, but none dared to fire without his command. The beast leaned forward, the tip of its snout almost touching his chest, its nostrils flaring as if it was smelling the air around him. The alien commander slammed his fist against the console in frustration, shouting at his officers, telling them the beast must not hesitate, that hesitation shows weakness, and weakness cannot be allowed in their most feared weapon. Still, the beast refused to strike. It tilted its head slightly, the glowing eyes narrowing in a way that felt almost human, almost like it was thinking. The people watching began to sense that something was wrong, or perhaps something was right, because the terror in the air was slowly being replaced with a strange sort of wonder. They were no longer looking at the beast as a mindless monster, but as something far more complex, far more alive than they had been told. Reyes's eyes studied every movement of the creature, every slow blink and small breath. And deep inside, he felt an unspoken understanding pass between them, as if they were both part of something bigger, something the aliens above could not control. From the alien warship, a sharp signal was sent, a surge meant to ignite pain inside the predator's mind and force it into obedience. The beast's body tensed, its claws digging into the ground. A deep rumble rose from its chest, a sound so low it felt more like an earthquake than a voice. The people around them stepped back instinctively. The soldiers raised their weapons again, but Reyes still stood his ground, not moving even as the beast's head lifted high above him, its mouth opening slightly to reveal those blade-like teeth. Instead of lunging, it turned its gaze upward toward the alien ship, as if it knew exactly where the pain was coming from. The alien commander froze for a moment, his eyes narrowing, wondering if the beast could actually sense them watching. The tension was becoming unbearable. The air felt heavy and thick, and then the beast did something no one expected. It took one slow step forward and stopped directly in front of Reyes. Then it lowered itself, not fully, but enough for its head to be level with his chest. The glow in its eyes softened, the growl fading into silence. Reyes slowly reached out his hand. The soldiers behind him shouted warnings, but he ignored them. His fingers brushed against the surface of the beast's armored skin. It was warm, almost hot, and the texture felt like stone polished by centuries of storms. The beast let out a sound that was neither a roar nor a growl. It was something else, a strange tone that made the hairs on everyone's arms stand on end. like a song from somewhere ancient and far away. On the alien ship, the officers exchanged nervous glances. This was not in any of their records. No species had ever been able to touch the predator and live. The commander's voice was low but dangerous. He ordered them to prepare the fail-safe, a hidden device buried deep in the creature's body, one that could tear its nervous system apart in an instant. His second-in-command hesitated, pointing out that the beast was showing no hostility toward the human. But the commander cut him off, saying that if the galaxy saw their weapon hesitate, their enemies would sense weakness, and weakness meant death. Back on Earth, the crowd was pressing closer, drawn by curiosity as much as by fear. Every phone camera pointed at the scene, every news drone buzzing overhead to capture every second. Reyes could feel the eyes of millions on him, but all he could see was the beast before him. The way its breathing had slowed, the way its body seemed less tense than when it first landed, he could sense it was waiting for something, though he could not say what. The beast's tail moved slightly, sweeping across the cracked street, and a cloud of dust rose into the air. In that moment, Reyes realized the predator was not behaving like a tool or a weapon, but like a soldier assessing another soldier. Suddenly, the ground shook again, not from the beast this time, but from the heavy thud of metal shapes landing nearby. Alien drop pods slammed into the street, unfolding to reveal tall armored warriors armed with energy spears. They moved in unison, their eyes locked on the predator, their orders clear: take control of the beast or kill it if it resists. The crowd screamed and backed away. The soldiers on Earth aimed their rifles at the new arrivals. The air was seconds from exploding into chaos. The beast swung its head toward the alien soldiers, a deep snarl rumbling through its chest. The alien warriors hesitated. They had seen it kill before, and none of them truly wished to face it. Reyes stepped forward again, placing himself between the beast and the aliens, his voice calm but firm, telling them to stop, telling them that no one here wanted to fight. But his words meant nothing to them. The alien commander's voice rang out through their helmets, demanding they move in. The beast's claws dug deeper into the street, its massive frame lowering as if ready to pounce. Reyes could feel the heat rising from its body. The alien soldiers took one cautious step forward there, weapons glowing brighter, and then the beast turned its head back toward Reyes, its eyes glowing even brighter than before. In that silent moment, Reyes knew the beast had made a choice, and whatever was about to happen next would change everything in ways none of them could yet imagine. High above Earth, inside the alien warship, the command chamber was filled with tense voices. Glowing screens showed the frozen image of the predator standing beside the human captain. The alien commander's face was tight with anger, his claws tapping against the metal table. This creature was supposed to be their symbol of fear, their living weapon. Yet here it was refusing to obey. He turned to his officers and ordered them to prepare the memory relay, the machine that could show the past hunts of the predator to remind it of what it truly was, an apex killer born in fire and shadow. The memory relay activated, sending a pulse down into the predator's mind. In an instant, it was no longer standing on the cracked streets of Earth, but back in the endless hunting pits where its life began. The ground there was black and sharp, the air heavy with the scent of blood. Around it, the walls were high and covered with jagged spikes. The only light came from above, where alien trainers watched from behind heavy shields. The young beast had been thrown into this place when it was barely large enough to stand, forced to fight other creatures to survive. It learned quickly that hesitation meant death. Its claws became sharper, its muscles stronger, its roar deeper with every battle. The trainers fed it just enough to keep it alive, never enough to make it comfortable. They wanted hunger to be its greatest weapon. Years passed in the pit. The predator grew larger and faster, every scar on its body a story of survival. The aliens tested it with different prey, creatures that spat acid, creatures with armored hides, creatures that could vanish in shadows. None lasted long against it. The alien commander at the time called it Peros in their tongue, meaning death fawn. It was taken from the pits only to fight in grand arenas where entire cities would watch the slaughter. The roar of the crowds and the smell of fear became its world. The galaxy knew Peros as the unstoppable force, the weapon no army could face. The current commander remembered the day they used the Predator to conquer the ice world of Kroth. The Kroth warriors had built their cities deep in the frozen mountains. No siege could break them. But when the Predator was dropped into their largest stronghold, the battle lasted less than a day. The snow turned red, and the Kroth warriors fled into the wild, leaving their world to the alien empire. The commander kept the Predator in chains, but never too tight, for it was said that chains could only hold Peros if it allowed them to. Yet the creature had never shown disobedience until now. Back on Earth, the Predator's eyes flickered as the memories washed over it. Its claws twitched and its muscles rippled. The alien commander expected this to awaken its killing instinct, but instead something strange happened. The beast looked again at Captain Reyes, its gaze heavy with thought. Deep inside its mind was a fragment of memory unlike the others, not of battle, but of stillness. In the pits long ago, it had once been wounded and left alone for days. A small creature from the shadows had crept toward it. Instead of attacking, the little thing had sat beside it, sharing scraps of food it had stolen. That was the first and only time the Predator had been given something without being forced to fight for it. And in Reyes's eyes it saw that same quiet presence, a strength without cruelty. The alien commander did not know this memory existed. He only saw that the Predator was still not moving to kill. He ordered the fail-safe to be armed. A surge of deadly energy ready to burn through the beast's nerves. His officers hesitated, warning that if the Predator resisted the surge, it could destroy the control systems completely. But the commander's pride was greater than his caution. He demanded they proceed. The Predator felt the first sting of the surge, pain blooming through its body like fire under its skin. It snarled, the ground cracking under its claws. The soldiers on Earth stepped back, the crowd screaming. Reyes did not move. His eyes locked on the beast. He spoke in a low voice, calm and steady, words the beast could not understand, but a tone it could feel. The surge grew stronger. The beast roared loud enough to make the air shake. But even in pain, it did not strike the human. Instead, it turned its head upward toward the alien ship, its roar carrying not fear but defiance. In the command chamber, silence fell. The commander's eyes widened. Never before had the Predator roared at them. It had always bowed its head, always obeyed. Now it was challenging them. The officers exchanged nervous glances, some whispering that the beast had chosen a new master. The commander snarled at the suggestion, claiming that such a thing was impossible, that the Predator was bound by blood and code. Yet the image on the screen told a different story. On the ground, the beast took a step closer to Reyes, lowering its head slightly despite the pain still burning through it. Reyes reached out again, his hand pressing firmly against the creature's massive head. The soldiers watched in disbelief, some lowering their weapons without realizing it. The crowd was silent except for the hum of recording devices capturing every moment. The connection between man and beast was plain for all to see. Far away on other worlds, the live feed was being watched by billions, in alien markets, in the halls of distant rulers, in the shadowed corners of criminal dens. Whispers spread quickly. If the deadliest weapon in the galaxy could refuse its masters for a human, then perhaps the humans were not the weak newcomers everyone thought. Perhaps there was something about them that even the strongest could respect. The Predator's breathing slowed, the pain from the surge fading as the alien commander reluctantly ordered it shut down, not out of mercy, but out of fear that pushing further would break their control forever. He told his officers they would deal with this humiliation later. For now, they must find another way to remind the humans of their place. But deep inside, he knew that something had shifted, and it could not be undone. On Earth, the beast stayed beside Reyes, the alien soldiers from the drop pods still standing ready, but now hesitant. The Predator turned its head toward them, its glowing eyes narrowing, a silent warning passing between Predator and alien warrior. The kind of warning that made them step back without a word. Reyes did not know how or why this was happening, but he knew one thing. The balance of power had just changed, and it was only the beginning. The streets of the city were quiet now, except for the low sound of the beast's breathing. Smoke still hung in the air from the drop pods, and the broken pavement still crumbled under its weight. People who had been hiding began to peek from windows and doorways, their eyes wide as they saw the giant creature standing calmly beside Captain Reyes. Drones hovered above, capturing every angle for the world to see. News feeds across Earth lit up with the image, the galaxy's most feared predator, showing no sign of attack and standing like a guardian beside a human. Inside a nearby command post, human scientists watched the live feed with intense focus. One of them, a young biologist named Dr. Sarah Hale, adjusted her glasses and leaned toward the screen. She noted how the beast's breathing pattern had slowed, how its movements had lost the sharpness of aggression. She spoke quickly into her headset to her team, pointing out that the beast seemed to be reacting to Reyes in a way that did not match any known predator behavior. It was not submission born of fear. It was something else, something harder to measure. The team began running data from drones that circled the area, measuring heat, heart rates, even air chemistry. One scientist noticed that when Reyes stepped closer, the beast's massive frame seemed to relax further, as if his presence was lowering its tension. Another pointed to faint electromagnetic readings that spiked when Reyes made contact with its armored skin. Theories began to form. Maybe humans carried a certain signal, or maybe it was something simpler, a quality of presence, a strength that could be sensed beyond sight or sound. Dr. Hale wrote in her notes that animals on Earth often responded to confidence and calmness more than to size or force. Maybe this predator could feel something similar. Above the planet, the alien commander paced inside the warship, his voice sharp as he demanded to know why the beast was not obeying. His officers ran more control signals through the neural link, but none seemed to break its focus on the human. One officer hesitated before speaking, suggesting that the beast might be sensing something from the human that interfered with their commands. The commander scoffed, saying humans were nothing but loud, fragile creatures with no special qualities. Yet his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. He had seen the way the predator stood, the way it seemed to shield the human without even knowing why. On the streets, Reyes remained still, his hands still resting against the side of the beast's head. He could feel the slow, steady thump of its heartbeat beneath the armor like skin. The soldiers behind him kept their rifles ready, but their stances were loosening. Some were even lowering their weapons entirely. The crowd's fear had shifted into something else, a rising pride that spread like fire through the watching people. They whispered to each other that maybe humans were not as small in the galaxy as they had been told. Maybe they had something no one else did. In faraway human cities, giant screens showed the live feed. Children pointed at the image with wide smiles. Elders leaned forward in their seats. Soldiers in distant bases paused their drills to watch. The world was holding its breath together, waiting to see what happened next. Every leader on Earth had their advisors whispering that this could be more than a simple encounter, that this could be a moment that changed their standing among the stars. If they could command the respect of such a creature, then maybe they could stand against powers far greater than themselves. The alien commander finally gave a cold order: prepare the orbital weapons. If the beast will not kill, then we will make an example another way. His second in command hesitated again, warning that firing on the humans now would make the predator their enemy. The commander's voice rose in fury, claiming that a weapon that chose its target was no weapon at all, and if it would not obey, then it would be destroyed along with those it protected. Deep inside the predator's mind, a faint echo of the command reached, but something stronger drowned it out, an instinct that had nothing to do with alien programming and everything to do with choice. Dr. Hale and her team continued to watch from the command post. Her eyes caught a subtle movement. The beast was now standing slightly between Reyes and the direction of the alien ship above, as though it sensed a threat from the sky. She quickly relayed this to the defense network, telling them that the predator might be acting as a shield. Her words were met with disbelief until one of the drones zoomed in and confirmed the shift in its stance. Reyes noticed it too, his hand tightening slightly on its head as he glanced upward. The faint shimmer of orbital weapons aligning could be seen if one knew where to look. The tension was rising again. Soldiers on the ground began moving civilians further back. Whispers spread that the aliens might fire. The beast's head lifted toward the sky, a low rumble building in its chest. The alien commander watched from above and felt the weight of the moment. He had underestimated the humans before. Now he wondered if destroying them in front of the galaxy might backfire. Still, he hesitated too long. For the predator had already taken a small step forward, its body lowering in readiness, its eyes never leaving the invisible threat above. Reyes did not fully understand why the creature was acting this way, but he felt the heat of its body close to his. He could sense that whatever it was about to do was not meant to harm him or his people. The soldiers nearest to him looked at the beast, and then at Reyes as if waiting for a silent order. But Reyes gave none. He simply stayed where he was, letting the predator choose its next move. In that silence, the only sound was the slow, deep breath of the galaxy's deadliest beast, a sound that carried more weight than any weapon. Somewhere deep in the alien warship, a warning klaxon began to sound. A systems officer reported that the neural link to the predator was weakening. The commander's face darkened. He barked orders to boost the signal, but the readings showed something even worse. The beast's loyalty markers, coded deep into its mind, were shifting away from their control, as though a new presence was taking their place. The commander refused to believe it. Yet the evidence was there in numbers and lines he could not argue with. The crowd on Earth began to cheer softly now, not in triumph, but in hope. The sight of the predator standing like a wall between them and the alien ship was a vision no one would forget. Dr. Hale whispered under her breath that maybe this was what true power looked like, not in weapons or numbers, but in the ability to turn fear into respect and respect into loyalty. The thought settled deep in her mind as the beast turned its gaze back to Reyes, waiting as though the next step in this strange alliance would be his to make. The alien warship hung above the Earth like a silent blade ready to fall. Inside the command chamber, the alien commander stood tall, with his hands gripping the edges of the central console. His voice was low but sharp as he ordered a channel open to the humans below. The signal came through every device and every screen in the city. The commander's face appeared cold and without mercy. He spoke in a language instantly translated by the ship's systems. Humans of Earth, you will step away from the predator at once. You will return to your shelters. The beast will follow our command. If you resist, we will unleash destruction upon your world that no shield or wall can stop. The words echoed through the streets and into the hearts of the people watching. The crowd murmured in fear. Parents pulled their children closer. Soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. But Captain Reyes did not move, his hand still resting on the warm armored skin of the beast, his eyes fixed on the image of the alien commander on the hovering screens. He spoke back with a voice steady and clear, telling the commander that the predator was no longer theirs to command, that it stood here now by choice. The alien's eyes narrowed in disbelief, his tone rising with anger as he repeated his demand, this time adding a final warning: you have 1 minute to obey, or we will turn the sky into fire. High above in the command post, Dr. Sarah Hale and her team were listening to the exchange. Her fingers raced over the controls as she scanned the alien ship's weapon systems. She saw the energy levels rising and knew they were preparing to fire. She sent an urgent message to the Human Defense Network, telling them to prepare for impact. But she also pointed out that the predator was now standing in direct alignment with the alien ship, as though it was ready to face the attack itself. Her voice trembled as she said, "Maybe it is trying to protect us." The beast let out a low growl that rolled through the street like thunder, its head lifted toward the sky, its claws dug into the broken pavement. Every muscle in its body was tense, but its stance was unshaken. The alien warriors who had come down in the drop pods shifted uneasily, their spears still in hand, but their eyes darting between the human captain and the beast. They had been trained to obey orders without question. Yet none of them could deny the unease in their hearts as they watched. The predator they feared most chose not to obey the commander's voice. The alien commander clenched his fists, veins rising against his pale skin. He barked to his crew to prepare the control override, the hidden signal that would force the predator to obey or die. Deep inside the beast's body, a small implanted device began to hum. It sent sharp pulses through its nerves, the kind of pain that had always brought it to its knees before. But this time the predator did not fall. It took a deep breath. the sound vibrating in its massive chest, its glowing eyes never leaving the ship above, and then it stepped forward, placing itself fully between the humans and the line of fire from the warship. The crowd gasped. The soldiers behind Reyes lowered their weapons slightly. Even the alien warriors on the street took a step back. Captain Reyes looked up at the beast, his voice soft but firm as he told it, "We will stand together." Whether or not the predator understood the words, it seemed to understand the meaning. It lowered its head slightly toward him, as if acknowledging the shared choice. Dr. Hale whispered into her headset that they were watching the impossible happen. A creature bred only for destruction was defying everything it had ever known to protect those it was meant to destroy. Inside the alien warship, the tension was sharp enough to cut. The commander gave the final order, "Fire on my mark." But before the mark had come, a voice from the back of the room spoke up. It was one of the senior officers, his tone cautious. "If we fire now, and the beast survives the galaxy, will see that our most feared weapon is no longer ours. Worse, they will see it fight for the humans." The commander snapped his head around, his eyes burning with rage, but there was hesitation in his movements, hesitation born from the truth in those words. On the street, the air felt heavy. The seconds stretched long as the people waited for the sky to burn. Reyes stood tall beside the predator, his heart steady despite the danger. He could feel the heat radiating from the beast's body, could hear the deep rumble of its breath. The predator's tail swept slowly behind it as it kept its stance, its claws gripping the earth like anchors. The alien warriors began to move back further. Unsure of their place in what was unfolding, the crowd held their breath as the light from the alien ship's weapons grew brighter in the sky. And then the beast made its move. It let out a roar so loud and deep that it seemed to shake the air itself. The sound rolled upward toward the warship, echoing off the clouds. It was not the roar of a mindless killer, but the roar of a challenge, a voice of defiance against the masters who thought they owned it. In the command chamber above, several officers instinctively stepped back from their stations. The commander gripped the console tighter, his jaw set, but his eyes flickered with something that looked almost like fear. The roar ended in a deep growl that did not fade. The predator's eyes burned brighter than before. Its body lowered slightly, as if daring the aliens to act. Reyes stood beside it without flinching. The crowd slowly began to understand what they were seeing. This was no longer a standoff between two forces. This was the moment the galaxy's deadliest beast had chosen a side, and that side was theirs. In living rooms and streets across Earth, cheers began to rise, small at first, then growing louder. Voices calling out in hope and pride. The alien commander gave a sharp gesture to cut the weapon charge. His officers obeyed reluctantly. The glow from the ship's weapons dimmed. The crowd below erupted in louder cheers. The alien warriors on the street lowered their spears and stepped back, some avoiding the predator's gaze entirely. The commander's voice came over the open channel again, colder than before. "You may keep your moment, human, but this is not over." His image vanished from the screens, leaving only the sound of the city and the steady breathing of the beast beside Captain Reyes. Reyes looked up at the sky for a long moment before turning his gaze back to the predator. The creature met his eyes, its head tilting slightly, the tension in the air slowly giving way to a strange quiet, a quiet filled with unspoken understanding. Dr. Hale in the command post pressed her hands to the desk, her voice barely above a whisper as she said, "We might have just witnessed the first alliance between humanity and something greater than humanity itself." And across the galaxy, unseen eyes watched in silence, knowing the same. The alien commander stood in the shadowed corner of his chamber, his mind racing with fury and disbelief. The predator had defied him in front of the humans, in front of the galaxy, and worse, it had chosen to stand with them. As if they were its own kind, this could not be allowed to continue, for if word spread that the predator could resist their control, then the fear that had held worlds in obedience for decades would begin to fade, and with it their power over the stars. He turned to his weapons master and demanded the final measure, the hidden command, the kill switch that would burn through the predator's nervous system and end it before the humans could claim it as their own The weapon's master hesitated, reminding the commander that the kill switch was irreversible and that the predator was worth more than any fleet. The commander's eyes burned with cold light as he told him that the moment it bowed to humans, it became worthless to them. Now it must serve as a warning to all who might think to rebel. High above Earth, the signal was prepared. A beam of invisible data locked onto the predator's implanted control node deep within its skull. On the streets below, the beast lifted its head sharply, its ears twitching, as if it heard something that no one else could. Captain Reyes saw the sudden tension in the creature's stance, its claws digging deeper into the ground, its chest rising and falling faster. He called out to Dr. Hale through the comm, asking what was happening. She scanned the beast's bio readings, and her face went pale. The aliens are activating the kill switch, she said, her voice shaking. The signal struck the predator's mind like a spear of white fire. Its muscles seized, its breath caught, and for a moment it stumbled, one knee bending toward the cracked pavement. Gasps rose from the crowd as the sight of the mighty creature faltering struck fear into their hearts. The alien warriors began to raise their weapons again, sensing the turn of the tide. The commander's voice echoed in the predator's skull, a voice it had been bred to obey, telling it to kneel, to break, to die in service of its masters. But something deep inside the predator resisted. It remembered the faces of the humans who had not run from it, the small child who had stared up at it with wide, unafraid eyes, the soldiers who had not fired when they could have, the captain who had stood beside it without fear. It remembered the warmth of the hand on its armor, the sound of voice that spoke not in orders but in trust, and the fire in its mind began to burn against the control. Captain Reyes saw the predator struggling, its massive frame trembling under the invisible assault. He stepped closer, placing himself in front of its head, speaking to it in a low, steady tone, telling it that it was free, that it did not belong to them anymore, that it could choose its own path. The beast's glowing eyes locked onto its breath ragged, but still it held itself upright. The crowd began to murmur words of encouragement, voices rising in a wave of human sound, as if they could push back the alien signal with sheer will. In the alien warship, the weapon's master's eyes widened. The kill switch should have ended the predator's life within seconds, yet the creature's vital signs, though spiking with pain, remained stable. The commander snarled, ordering the signal's strength doubled. The ship's power core groaned as more energy was poured into the deadly command below. The predator's claws carved deep grooves into the street, its tail lashed with violent force, its body shuddering under the agony, but its head refused to bow, and its eyes burned brighter with each passing heartbeat. Dr. Hale shouted that the control signal was peaking too high, that if it kept going it might overload not just the implant, but the alien ship's own transmitter. The commander ignored the warning, focused only on crushing the defiance that had bloomed in the heart of his perfect weapon. Then something unexpected happened. The predator opened its jaws, not in pain, but in another roar, a roar louder than the one before, a sound that vibrated through the city and into the sky, carrying with it a pulse of energy that shook the alien signal itself. The transmitter on the warship flickered. The weapon's master cried out that the implant was feeding back into their system. The signal was not just failing, it was reversing. The commander ordered it cut immediately, but the damage had begun deep in the ship's core. The feedback surged through circuits and burned out conduits. Showers of sparks fell across the command deck. Alarms blared, and the warship began to drift slightly in orbit. On the street, the predator felt the pain fade, its muscles loosening, its breath coming back strong. It lowered its head close to Captain Reyes, as if to show that it had heard his words and chosen to stand with him, not by command, but by will. The crowd erupted in cheers. The soldiers raised their weapons, not in threat, but in salute. The alien warriors, still on the ground, looked at each other with uncertainty. Their most feared weapon had broken its chains, and their leader's voice no longer carried the same power. Above them, the alien commander gripped the console with white knuckles, his jaw clenched as he realized the truth. The predator was gone from his control forever, and now it stood as a symbol to every world they ruled, that even the strongest chains could be broken. His mind raced with new orders to retreat, to regroup, to silence this story before it spread. But he knew the image of the beast standing beside humans would already be racing across 1,000 systems. Captain Reyes reached up and rested his hand once more on the predator's armored neck, feeling the steady rhythm of its breath. He spoke quietly, "You're one of us now, The Predator tilted its head, slightly, the movement almost gentle for a creature of such size. The people around them began to move forward, no longer afraid, some reaching out to touch the great beast, others simply standing close as if its presence alone made them feel stronger, safer, more alive. From the command post, Dr. Hale watched the scene unfold, her voice soft as she said into the open channel, "This changes everything, not just for us, but for them too." And in that moment, she knew the galaxy had shifted. The Predator, once their terror, had become humanity's ally, and nothing the aliens could do would erase that. The warship began to pull away from orbit, its engines flaring. The commander's voice came once more, cold and heavy. "Humans, enjoy your moment, for soon the stars themselves will turn against you." Then the signal cut, and the sky above grew quiet. The Predator stood in the street like a living wall, its eyes watching the retreating shape of the ship until it vanished from sight. Then it turned back to Reyes and the people, and a low, almost peaceful rumble came from its chest, as if to tell them the fight was not over, but they would face it together. The days after the alien retreat were filled with tense silence. The skies above Earth were empty of enemy ships, yet no one believed it would last. Captain Reyes knew the commander was not the kind to accept defeat without striking back harder and faster than anyone could imagine. The Predator stayed near the city, its massive frame casting long shadows across the streets like a guardian carved from living armor, its glowing eyes scanning the horizon each night as if it could sense the storm that was coming. Dr. Hale worked around the clock with engineers and soldiers, studying the Predator's armor and physiology, learning how it had broken free from the alien control. She discovered that the feedback from the kill switch had fused parts of the implant into a dormant state, making it impossible to reactivate it. Now, the Predator was truly free, no hidden chains, no silent orders waiting to claim its mind again. This made it dangerous too. The aliens, in a way nothing else could match, and that meant they would come for it with everything they had. On the fifth night, the warning came from deep space scanners picking up movement at the edge of the system. A fleet larger than any Earth had ever faced before, rows of warships stretching across the void like a wall of steel and fire. At the center of all was a vessel unlike the rest, shaped like a spearhead, its hull lined with jagged armor plates and pulsing with strange light. Captain Reyes knew it had to be the commander's flagship. The Predator stood still as the image appeared on the command screens, its tail twitching once before it rumbled low in its chest as if accepting a challenge. The city went in a lockdown. Soldiers manned barricades, civilians were moved underground, defense cannons were powered up for a fight. Everyone knew they might not survive, but no one spoke of surrender. The Predator moved to the edge of the city, facing the skies, its claws carving lines into the ground as it waited. Captain Reyes stood beside it, helmet on, rifle ready, though he knew his weapon would be a whisper against the storm that was coming above. Them streaks of light cut through the atmosphere, the alien fleet entering orbit like a swarm of burning stars. The commander's voice echoed through open channels, offering one chance for humanity to hand over the Predator and be spared. The Predator lifted its head and released a roar so loud it shattered glass in nearby buildings. The answer was clear: no negotiation, no surrender. The alien ships opened fire, beams of light lancing toward the city. The Predator leapt forward faster than anything that size should move, its claws digging into the earth as it launched itself into the air, intercepting one of the massive blasts, its armor flaring with heat as it absorbed and redirected the energy into a blazing counterstrike that tore a smaller ship apart. On the ground, shockwaves rolled through the streets. Soldiers fired into the sky, hitting alien dropships that were breaking through the atmosphere. The Predator moved like a living storm, tearing through landing craft before they could deploy their troops. Captain Reyes followed in its wake, leading squads to cover points where the fighting was thickest. Each time the Predator's roar rolled over the city, the humans pushed harder, their fear replaced with something fierce and unshakable. The commander watched from his flagship, his eyes narrowing as his perfect weapon defied him. Yet again, he ordered the release of the Titan drones, massive war machines built to match the Predator in size and strength. They fell from the sky on columns of fire, landing with earth-shaking force around the city, each one armed with cannons and blades forged from alien alloys. The Predator turned to face them, its eyes locking on the largest one, and without hesitation it charged. The clash shook the ground for miles, the predator slamming into the Titan with a force that bent metal and shattered stone. The Titan's blades cut deep, but the predator fought with a fury that no machine could match, tearing through armor with claws and teeth. Captain Reyes and his soldiers targeted the smaller drones, blasting their joints and weak points until they fell burning into the streets above them. The sky was a storm of light as human ships joined the fight, unleashing everything they had. Dr. Hale directed the city's defense grid, linking the cannons to track alien ships automatically, the air filled with the roar of fire and the crash of impacts. Yet through it all, the predator fought on. Even when wounded, it rose again, refusing to fall. The largest Titan finally collapsed under its assault, sparks and smoke pouring from its shattered frame. The predator lifted its head and roared again, the sound rolling across the battlefield like a promise of victory. The commander realized too late that the predator had not just chosen humanity, it had united them. Their will to fight now burned brighter than any fear his fleets could create. He ordered a retreat, but not all of his ships escaped. The predator leapt again, ripping into one of the retreating vessels and dragging it down in a burning arc toward the sea. The shockwave from its crash lit the horizon like dawn over the waves. Silence fell slowly across the city, the alien fleet shrinking to nothing in the sky. Captain Reyes lowered his rifle, breathing hard, as he looked at the predator standing in the rubble, its armor scorched, its claws dripping with the wreckage of machines. The people began to emerge from shelters, their voices rising in cheers that echoed through the streets. The predator looked down at them, then at Reyes, and lowered its head in a slow, deliberate bow. Reyes stepped forward, resting a hand against its neck, feeling the steady thrum of life beneath the armor. "You did it," he said, though the predator gave no words. Its eyes said enough. Dr. Hale approached, her voice soft, as she told them both, "This is more than survival. Now, this is the start of something new." The predator turned its gaze to the stars. The battle had been won, but it knew, as did they all, that the war was far from over. Somewhere in the dark, the commander would be planning his return. Yet the predator no longer stood as a weapon in his hand. It stood as the shield of a world that would never bow again, and in that truth there was a strength no fleet could break. As the first light of morning touched the city, the predator's shadow stretched long over the people who gathered to see it. They saw not a beast sent to humble them, but an ally who had chosen to fight beside them. And in that moment, every heart knew that no matter what came next, they would face it together.